Did you hear that Tesla officially launched their driverless robotaxis in Austin, Texas? That's what we'll review in this Learn English with the News lesson. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Our headline, Tesla robotaxi low-key launch in Texas. So as you can see in this circle, there is no driver. That's the robotaxi. So this type of vehicle is commonly referred to as a driverless, self-driving, or autonomous vehicle. All three are commonly used. What about you? Have you been in a driverless car without a driver? I personally have not. Would you? Would you take the robotaxi? Share in the comments. So the Tesla robotaxi low-key launch. So a launch, of course, is the official start. So these robotaxis were available as a service for the first time in Texas. That's the launch, the official start. But what about a low-key launch? This is an adjective. It describes the launch. Low-key means it was quiet or modest. It was without a lot of attention. So the opposite, we could say probably a high-profile launch. If there were tons of reporters, a parade, a band, a lot of activity, fireworks, that would be a high-profile, maybe a flashy launch. But this is the opposite, a low-key launch. This adjective is commonly used in social invitations. So if I invite you to a party, but I want you to know it's not going to be a crazy party, which in a social context would be the opposite. So I would say, I'm having a party on Saturday, but it's just going to be low key. A few people, quiet, not a lot of noise or excitement, just a low-key party, a low-key event. You can use that in a social situation. So you could say, I prefer low-key parties, smaller, not too noisy. You can have a conversation with people. Now, in a social context, like I said, the most common adjective I would use in a social context is crazy. I prefer crazy parties. Now, in this context, I would say high profile or flashy would be opposites. Don't worry about taking these notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's keep reading about this low-key launch. Tesla's long-awaited robotaxis rolled out for the first time on roads in Austin, Texas on June 22nd, which for me was yesterday. Probably quite different for you watching this video. So long-awaited robotaxis. Of course, this is an adjective. It describes robotaxis, which is the noun in the plural form, referring to all of them. Now, I think it's quite obvious what the meaning is. It's something you've been waiting for a long time, but that's an alternative. So instead of saying, Jennifer, I've been waiting for your lessons for a long time, you might say, Jennifer, thanks for the long-awaited lesson, because it's an adjective, so it needs to describe a noun. Would you agree that my lessons are long-awaited, ones you wait for a long time? If you agree with that, put that's right, put that's right in the comments so I know you enjoy these lessons and it will motivate me to keep making them. So it's not that long-awaited, only a few days until the next one. Now notice in my definition of long-awaited, you've been waiting for a long time. Now technically it's something you've been waiting for a long time. This double for is grammatically correct and required because you wait for something for a long time. Now this is just the definition. In spoken English, you would say it differently. For example, I've been waiting for your lessons for a long time. So generally there would be the noun to divide these two fors. But yes, it is correct. Tesla's long-awaited robotaxi rolled out. So of course, this is our phrasal verb. The verb is roll, conjugated in the past simple because, as I said, this was yesterday for me, probably longer for you, rolled out. Now, this is the same meaning as launch. So something officially starts. And as I said, of course, for the first time. So you could think of it as rolled out or launched. The only difference here, and likely why they chose rolled out, is because it's often used gradually. So to introduce, to start, to launch something gradually. And that's what happened with the low-key launch. It was just a few robotaxis, and then they're going to introduce more and more and more. So that is the gradual process, which is more included in the word roll out. Let's keep going. In videos shared by Tesla on X, a small group of invited analysts, influencers, and shareholders were shown participating in paid rides. And notice here, our verb is to participate, and you participate in something. And then the something is paid rides. So rides in the robotaxi, the autonomous taxi, no driver, but you have to pay for that ride. So paid rides. Now, this is the adjective form. So yes, there is the verb to pay for something, which you conjugate, but adjectives, they don't have plural forms. You don't conjugate them. So it's always paid rides. The opposite of a paid ride is a free ride. And sometimes the word complimentary is used, which means free. You don't have to pay for it.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
The small number of vehicles deployed had a human safety operator in the passenger seat, according to reports. So here, let's look at the verb deployed. Notice this is just the past participle of the verb deployed. The full form, you would say the small number of vehicles that were deployed, but you can just take the verb in the participle form and it has the same meaning. This is commonly done in more formal academic or professional writing. So here, deployed, this is the same as to use, but to use for a specific purpose. You can think of it as to put into operation or to put in use. And for the vehicles, you can think of it as simply send out. So the vehicles were sent out. The vehicles were deployed. So these vehicles, which of course are the robotaxi, they had a human safety operator in the passenger seat. So of course the passenger seat is beside the driver's seat, and a human safety operator is just a person in the passenger seat who's there just in case something happens. Because this is the first time the robotaxi is operating in the real world. So they had a human safety operator just in case of an emergency, which is a smart thing to do. Let's keep going. Analysts said the low-key robotaxi launch. So again, we have our adjective low-key, which means quiet, modest, not a lot of public attention. Analysts said the low-key robotaxi launch highlights Tesla's big bid to compete with existing self-driving taxi operators in the US and China as the sector grows. So we already talked about self-driving. Remember, you could also say driverless or autonomous as two other common words. Let's review the word bid. This is a noun. Tesla's bid, and big is the adjective to describe it. So in this case, bid means attempt or effort to do something specific. So attempt is an easy way to think of it. Bid is very much used in a business world because your effort or attempt in a business world, often you produce a document which is called a bid. So if you want to get a client, you might produce a document that has the service you'll provide, the timeline, the price, and you submit that. That's commonly called a bid. So that's why this word is used, but it's very much in a business context. In an everyday context, for your purposes, you wouldn't say my bid to improve my English. That doesn't sound correct because there's no business context. You would say my attempt to improve my English, which sounds great. Now remember, these are nouns. So here you have Tesla's bid. So a possessive replaces an article. If you use a possessive like Tesla's, you don't need an article. Now in this case, you also have a possessive, my attempt. If there were no possessive, you would need an article. The student made an attempt to improve his English. For example, you would need an article, a bid. We submitted a bid in a business context. But here, Tesla's big bid, you don't need an article. And hopefully you agree with this sentence that your attempt to improve your English is easier with my support. Let's keep going. Waymo, owned by Google parent Alphabet. So Google parent, the parent company that represents the company that also owns Google. So Alphabet owns Google. So it's referred to as the parent company. So Google parents Alphabet along with Amazon's Zoox. So to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly. I've never heard of this before this article. Have you? This is new to me. So Zoox is a self-driving, driverless, autonomous vehicle, and same with Waymo. They already offer self-driving taxi rides in Austin, as well as in San Francisco and Phoenix. Musk congratulated Tesla's artificial intelligence and chip design teams. So notice teams is plural because there are two teams here. We have the artificial intelligence team and the chip design team. So that's why we have teams. They're two separate teams. On the launch in a post on X. So notice this on. What is it doing there? Chip design teams on the launch in a post on X. Because this on is with congratulate. Because you congratulate someone on something. And this happens in the English language naturally, where sometimes the preposition or another part of speech that is grammatically required with a certain word like congratulate comes well after, and you may forget about it. In spoken English, you may forget to mention it, or in written English, you may forget to write it because it's quite separated. But you congratulate someone. Now, the someone happens to be this long, but you congratulate someone on something, and the something is the launch, of course. Now, I'm sure in the comments section, in the reply section on X, I'm sure a lot of people are saying congrats on the launch. Congrats on the launch. Native speakers generally take the word congratulations and then we shorten it to just congrats. You must keep that S because the full form would be congratulations with an S. It's not congratulation on the launch. It's always congratulations on the launch. So that's why you need this S here. Now, in this form, congratulations with the S, which is commonly shortened to congrats, this is a noun. But in this case, this is a verb because someone congratulates someone on something. And then, of course, as a verb, you conjugate it. So you might say, we need to congratulate the teams on the launch. Let's keep going. writing that, so this writing represents Elon Musk was writing on X, writing that it was culmination of a decade of hard work. So there's actually a little typo here. So I think when the person copied this quote, they forgot the article because it's not culmination of. Culmination is a noun. Grammatically, it must be, it was a culmination, a culmination. You could also say the culmination, but you need an article. So because whoever wrote this was copying this, the fact that it's in quotes means Elon Musk directly said these words on X. So either Elon just didn't include the article, because it's often done where you exclude the article if it's a headline, for example. So it depends on the context. So either Elon did not include the article or this person just forgot to include the article. But when you use this word, which is a great word, you need a culmination or the culmination. And it just means the final result or the end result. So it was a culmination of a decade of hard work. So what is the culmination? The fact that the robotaxi is in Texas picking people up and taking them to their destination without a driver. Imagine that 10 years ago in 2015. Probably unfathomable. So that the fact that the robotaxi exists, that is the end result, the final result after a decade of hard work. So a decade means 10 years. Remember, results often take a lot longer than you would think. 10 years. Here's how you can use this in an everyday context. You might say passing the IELTS, becoming fluent, getting the promotion. So whatever result, notice in the gerund verb, you're starting this with the gerund. So in a personal context, you might say buying this house, retiring in Hawaii, or whatever your dream retirement destination is. And then, so this was, because it's in the past, it means you've already retired in Hawaii. You've already bought the house. You've already passed the IELTS. So that's why it's in the past simple singular, because there's one thing, was a culmination of, and then generally we use this with an amount of effort or work or dedication or passion of years of work. And then of course you can say hard work or whatever adjective you want. So it's a great expression. It definitely sounds advanced. Just remember it's to be something and then to be a culmination of. Let's keep going. Both the AI chip and software teams were built from scratch within Tesla, he added, he being Elon. Okay, what does this mean? Built from scratch? From scratch? From scratch, this is an idiom. It means from nothing, from the very beginning. So you might say, I built my business from scratch. From nothing. You didn't buy an existing business. You didn't inherit your parents' business. You had nothing when you started. Okay. Now, at one point in your life, you started learning English from scratch. So that means you learned, hello, my name is. So you knew no words. So someone might ask you about a new language you're learning or want to learn, and you would reply back and say, yeah, I'm learning it from scratch, which means you don't even know the basic words of that language. And this is also very commonly used with cooking and recipes. So if you said, I made this cake from scratch, now you can go to the grocery store and buy a box, and all you do is add water and mix it together and you put it in the oven. That is not from scratch. If you make it from scratch, it means you add every ingredient in that cake, you add it, and then you bake the cake.
One final example, because this is so commonly used, so I want to make sure you can use it in your day-to-day life. You might say a specific common food item like pancakes. Pancakes taste so much better from scratch. So it means you didn't just buy a box where you add water, mix it together, and then have a pancake. You added all the ingredients yourself and then had a pancake. Pancakes taste so much better from scratch. So now, hopefully you feel confident using this idiom. Ahead of Sunday's pilot. Okay, so remember this launched yesterday, June 22nd, which was Sunday. Now, ahead of, it means before Sunday's pilot. Now, the pilot, this is interesting because at the beginning, they said the robotaxi launch, but the pilot means it's a small test or a smaller launch, basically. But that wasn't what it sounded like in the headline. So before Sunday's test launch, pilot. Ahead of Sunday's pilot, he said, of course Elon Musk, said in a post that customers would pay a $4.20 flat fee. Flat fee. Okay, do you know what a flat fee is? Generally, in North America, taxis are not a flat fee. So the fee depends on where you go. So you don't just walk into or enter, you don't generally walk in, but enter a taxi and give them $5. It depends on how far you go. You might pay $23 or you might pay $3 depending on the distance. But this sounds like no matter where you went in the city, you would pay $4.20. Okay. Notice here when I vocalized it, you would pay $4.20 because they're both plural. But when I read this the first time, did you notice a difference? Maybe the fact that I didn't add the plural. I said a $4.20 flat fee because this is an adjective. It's a flat fee. What type of flat fee? A $4.20 flat fee. So as the adjective form, you do not make things singular or plural because adjectives don't have conjugated forms. Verbs do, nouns do, but not adjectives. But if I say the flat fee is, now it's a noun. So you have the plural. The flat fee is $4.20. There would be no difference in writing. It would be in spoken English when you verbalize it that you would have to make sure you keep it singular. Flat fee, so everyone pays that one fee. It does not matter on the distance or the number of passengers for rides in Tesla robotaxis. Instead of flat fee, sometimes you'll hear the word fixed, a fixed fee, but flat is more commonly used. The small fleet of vehicles. So fleet, this is a collective noun, so you don't add an S onto it unless you're referring to Tesla's fleet and Google's fleet. Then together it would be the fleets because it's two individual ones combined. So that would be the only way you would add an S. But Tesla's fleet means the total number of vehicles that Tesla owns. So let's say there are 500 robotaxis. I have no idea what the number is. I made that up. 500 robotaxis. That's the fleet. And remember, fleet is a collective noun, so you don't add an S to it. And it's important to understand if something is singular or uncountable because it impacts the verb. That's why we have does. Because if it were vehicles that you're conjugating it with, it would be the vehicles do not. But it's not vehicles. It's the fleet, which is singular. The small fleet of vehicles, the fleet does not yet include the cybercab. Ooh, do you know what the cybercab is? This is
right here, the futuristic car concept unveiled by Musk at Tesla's We Robot event in October. Did you see this? If not after, just look on Google Images and look up Cybercab. It's pretty cool. So unveiled, it means they revealed it. They allowed the public to see it for the first time. So if you unveil something, it means it's available for the public to either see, listen to, watch, experience, taste, whatever it might be depending on the product. So if it were a song, you would listen to it, of course. But in this case, you would see the Cybercab for the first time. So this part means that the Cybercab is not available right now. Okay, so let's continue. Which Musk says will be the company's driverless taxi in the future. So the Cybercab, which is not available right now, will be the company's driverless taxi in the future. Now, when in the future? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? We don't know. So right now is just in the future. Let's keep going. Instead, it was existing Tesla vehicles. Okay, so this instead represents a contrast. So the last thing we learned was that the Cybercab was not available and it was not part of the fleet, the total number of vehicles now available. The Cybercab will be part of the fleet in the future, but not right now. So instead, that's the contrasting point. Instead, it was existing Tesla vehicles with a small robotaxi logo on the side that took to Austin streets on Sunday. Okay, so here, notice that took to Austin streets on Sunday. Well, the robotaxi took to Austin streets. It just means entered Austin streets. Entered in the sense of now driving on, now available for use, deployed. Remember, we used that before. Instead, it was existing Tesla vehicles that were deployed on Sunday, that were deployed in Austin on Sunday. You could use that as well. You will commonly hear to take to the streets or an area, a geographical area, with the use of protesters. So protesters took to the streets over the new robotaxis, which is true. There have been reports of protesters. So took to the streets, again, it has the same meaning. These protesters entered the streets. They're in the specific area, just like the robotaxis are in Austin. So in articles in the news, you'll often hear this took to, and most commonly used with protesters. Although, of course, as you can see here, it can be used in other contexts. And that is the end of the article. So now I will read the article from start to finish, and you can focus on my pronunciation. Tesla robotaxi low-key launch in Texas. Tesla's long-awaited robotaxi rolled out for the first time on roads in Austin, Texas on June 22nd. In videos shared by Tesla on X, a small group of invited analysts, influencers, and shareholders were shown participating in paid rides. The small number of vehicles deployed had a human safety operator in the passenger seat, according to reports. Analysts said the low-key robotaxi launch highlights Tesla's big bid to compete with existing self-driving taxi operators in the US and China as the sector grows. Waymo, owned by Google parent Alphabet, along with Amazon's Zoox, already offer self-driving taxi rides in Austin, as well as in San Francisco and Phoenix. Musk congratulated Tesla's artificial intelligence and chip design teams on the launch in a post on X, writing that it was accumulation of a decade of hard work. Both the AI chip and software teams were built from scratch within Tesla, he added. Ahead of Sunday's pilot, he said in a post that customers would pay a $4.20 flat fee for rides in Tesla robotaxi. The small fleet of vehicles does not yet include the Cybercab, the futuristic car concept unveiled by Musk at Tesla's We Robot event in October, which Musk says will be the company's driverless taxi in the future. Instead, it was existing Tesla vehicles with a small robotaxi logo on the side that took to Austin streets on Sunday.
Do you want me to make more lessons just like this? If you do, put let's go, put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.